My name is Elaine Carter. I'm 61, and tonight my kitchen smells like supermarket frosting. A single candle leans on a tiny sheet cake I bought myself, the kind that comes in a plastic clamshell with a white sticker, and my name spelled wrong, Elaine. I set it on the counter, slide off my coat, and listen to the house breathe, old vents sighing, the fridge clicking, porch chimes tapping the window. Outside, a siren fades down the main road, and the house goes quiet again. The quiet notices me. It stings. I tell myself I'm fine. Then my phone lights up. It's my son. For a second, my chest loosens, a hopeful flutter. The call connects to the hum of a TV in the background, the voice of a 9-year-old begging for more minutes. "Hey, Mom," my son says, already apologizing. He needs a favor. "Could I watch Logan this weekend? Rachel has to work. He has an extra shift." On the counter, the candle gutters out. I pinch the wick between my fingers, sugar smudging my thumb. I don't mention the cake. I don't mention the date. I say I'll think about it. Hang up and strike a match again. The room brightens. I inhale. Slowly. The flame steadies. The match burns down to my knuckle. I drop it in the sink and run the tap, hearing the hiss like it belongs to me. My phone lies face up on the counter, a small island of light. I stare, waiting for a second chance at the same call, a text that says, "We didn't forget." Instead, the screen goes dark. The candle's thin flame looks performative, a child holding its breath for attention. I slice the cake anyway. The knife squeaks on the cardboard base. Frosting smears my palm. For a heartbeat, I consider posting a picture. Something brave. I take the photo, then delete it. I don't owe anyone proof I can manage a lonely night. I plate a square and sit at the little table where a fourth chair used to be. I lift my fork. I put it down. I pull a rubber bin from the hall closet, the one with tax records and old warranties. The life I kept together with tape. It's heavier than it looks. I set it beside the cake and flip the lid. Pay stubs. Receipts. Copays. A thank you note from Logan's teacher with a gold star. "You're a lifesaver." Every scrap says I'm dependable, which is a gentle way of admitting I'm always available. The phone dings. A Facebook memory appears. Me at a bigger cake. Daniel's arm around my shoulder. Rachel holding baby Logan. I remember paying for dinner after that photo. We were so certain we'd keep treating each other well. The memory fades. The kitchen returns. I rinse my plate, wrap the cake, and slide the bin back. Tomorrow I'll answer about the weekend. Tonight I decide one thing. I won't wait for someone else to light candles for me. I open my laptop and type, "Trips for seniors traveling alone." Pop-ups bloom. Paris looks impossible and necessary. Rome glows like a coin in a fountain. Barcelona hums with color. I don't book anything. Not yet. I leave the browser open, a doorway I can walk through. In the screen's reflection, the candle behind me is still trying. I let it burn. For once. I let it try. Longer. Morning finds me sitting at the kitchen table with coffee that tastes burnt. The same brand I've bought for years because it was always on sale. I scroll past recipe videos, vacation ads, people I knew in high school posting grandkids and retirement parties. My browser tab from last night is still open, blinking like an invitation I'm afraid to accept. Paris, Rome, Barcelona. Names that belong to magazines. Not to me. I take another sip, bitter on my tongue, and look around my house. The paint has peeled in the corners. The couch sags where Logan jumps, and the rug carries stains I never got around to hiding. Everything whispers secondhand, including me. I go back to the closet and drag out the bin again. This time I don't stop at the lid. I pull out envelopes and tally them. 1,000 for Daniel's car repair, $3,000 for their mortgage when Rachel lost her job, another 1,000 when Logan needed braces. 10 years of savings spent drip by drip, $47,000 I could trace in my own handwriting. I smooth the paper on my lap and feel the heat rise in my chest. I used to think helping them was proof of love, but now it feels like I was slowly disappearing, one check at a time. My husband, God rest him, worked 30 years in insurance and left me a policy. I'd planned to stretch it into retirement. Instead, I stretched it over everyone else's emergencies. The coffee cools. I close my eyes and imagine what I'd do if I stopped waiting for invitations that never come. A train ride through the French countryside. A night in a Roman piazza with the clatter of plates, wine glasses lifting. A morning on a Spanish beach with the sea curling toward me like it knows my name. I pick up the phone. My fingers hover. Daniel's name glows, but I don't call. Instead, I press the airline app, type Dayton to Paris, and hit search. The numbers look sharp, but not impossible. 15,000 for flights, hotels, meals, 3 weeks to feel alive again. I whisper the figure like a prayer. Before I lose nerve, I click book. Confirmation pings, a cheerful chime that sounds like freedom. My stomach flips, half terror, half joy. I laugh out loud in the empty kitchen. For the first time in years, the laugh doesn't echo back hollow. It fills me. Tomorrow I'll tell Daniel I'm busy this weekend. Tonight, I'll pack a suitcase in my head. The flight is long, but when the plane dips through clouds and Paris stretches below, I press my forehead to the window like a child. The rooftops look painted, gray and slanted, stitched together by narrow streets. I whisper, I made it. And the words sound half unbelievable, half triumphant. My hotel is small, tucked on a side street where flower boxes spill over balconies. The elevator is barely larger than a closet. I lug my suitcase up, fling the curtains open, and there it is. The city I'd only seen on postcards, alive and sprawling, car horns, cafe chatter, the smell of bread baking. For once, I am not a caretaker, not a solution to someone else's crisis. I am just Elaine, a woman with time on her hands. The first morning, I join a baking class in a warm kitchen that smells of sugar and yeast. A French chef shows us how to fold dough, his accent thick but playful. Flour dusts my sweater. Butter coats my palms. When the croissant comes out golden, he insists I take the first bite. I chew slowly, almost reverently. Layers flake on my tongue. I think of that lonely supermarket cake and nearly cry at the difference. In the afternoons, I wander the Seine. Couples link arms, students strum guitars. A painter sketches on the bridge, offering me a smile like I belong here. I buy a small watercolor of Notre Dame, the paper still damp, and tuck it into my bag as proof I was seen. Nights are quiet but not lonely. I sit at cafes with a glass of wine, listening to conversations I don't understand but don't need to. The murmur is enough. A waiter asks if I am traveling alone. I nod, waiting for pity, but he simply pours more wine and says, "Then you are free." I write postcards to no one. I write them to myself. You are more than useful. You are worthy of joy. Each word feels like a stone laid in a new foundation. When the Eiffel Tower lights blaze at dusk, I watch from across the river. Tourists gasp, cameras click. I lift my chin, let the light spill over me, and think, for the first time in years, I am not invisible. I am right here. Rome greets me with the clang of church bells and the smell of roasted chestnuts drifting from carts near the piazza. The stones under my shoes feel older than belief, and when I stand before the Colosseum, I almost laugh at the absurdity. Me, Elaine Carter from Ohio, staring at history like I belong to it. I join a food tour through winding alleys. Our guide, Marco, waves his hands with theatrical flourish, ushering us into a family-run trattoria. The owner brings platters of pasta tossed with olive oil that glistens under the light. I twirl noodles, sip red wine, and listen as strangers trade stories. When it's my turn, I admit I'm traveling alone for the first time. They cheer, clinking glasses against mine. For once, I am celebrated, not pitied. One evening, I wander into a small church during Vespers. The choir's voices rise and fill the air like a tide. I sit in the last pew, eyes closed, letting the harmony carry me. My grief for my husband softens, no longer heavy stone, but gentle echo. I whisper his name and believe he would be proud of me. Barcelona is louder, brighter, a burst of color after Rome's solemn grandeur. Gaudi's buildings ripple like waves, and the streets smell of oranges and sea salt. I join a mosaic workshop in a studio filled with broken tiles. As I piece them together into something whole, I realize that's what I've been doing with myself, shards of a life, arranged into new beauty. At night, I walk the beach, shoes in hand, waves licking my ankles. Teenagers laugh behind me, tossing a ball, but I don't feel out of place. The water's pull feels like invitation, the moonlight silvering the path at my feet. I take a photo, my toes in the sand, ocean stretching wide, and post it with the caption, "Starting over is still possible at 61. Comments flood in from old coworkers, distant cousins, even neighbors I barely knew. So proud of you. Living the dream. You deserve it. Elaine." My chest tightens with gratitude, yet beneath the glow of support, a shadow flickers. What will Daniel and Rachel think when they see this? I close the app, letting the tide answer in whispers. For now, I choose the ocean. The morning after Barcelona's beach, I sip coffee in a cafe lined with blue tiles. My phone buzzes nonstop, and for a moment I smile, imagining more encouragement. But then I see it, Rachel's name, her comment sitting right below my post. So easy to travel the world when you're using money that should be paying rent. The words pierce sharper than any silence. A couple at the next table glance at me, maybe noticing the way my shoulders stiffen, the way I grip the mug too tight. I force myself to keep breathing. Within minutes, neighbors and acquaintances pile on. Some defend me, others ask questions laced with judgment. I scroll until the screen blurs. My cheeks burn as though the whole cafe has turned to watch. The kindness of strangers fades beneath the public sting of my own family branding me selfish. I close the app, but the shame clings like wet clothes. For years I gave quietly, check after check, babysitting weekends, meals delivered. Now one sentence from Rachel paints me greedy. The injustice of it makes my jaw ache. I wander through the city that afternoon, but the colors blur, the sounds flatten. Even Gaudi's soaring cathedral feels dim. I can't shake the words. I replay them, wondering if Daniel saw, if he agreed, if he let Rachel speak for them both. That night, in my hotel room, I spread receipts and bank statements I packed almost without thinking. Evidence, proof that my generosity had weight. $47,000 over the years, numbers that could speak when my family would not. I stare at the stack until the room grows dark. My chest tightens, anger rising with each breath. For once, I don't push it down. I let it build, not into bitterness, but into resolve. I decide, when I get home, there will be no more quiet sacrifices, no more pretending I'm invisible. They will hear me, see me, know exactly what I've carried. I blow out the hotel candle the maid left by the bed, the scent of vanilla curling in the air. My pulse steadies. Tomorrow I will fly back to Ohio. Tomorrow the real conversation begins. The house feels colder than I remember when I unlock the door. Dust gathers on the mantel. the couch still sagging from Logan's endless leaps. I don't bother unpacking fully. The suitcase stays by the stairs like proof I've seen something larger than these walls. I brew coffee, set 2 mugs on the table, and wait. Daniel arrives first, shoulders hunched, eyes darting to the papers spread across the table. Rachel follows, phone in hand, lips pressed thin. The air thickens before anyone speaks. "Mom," Daniel begins carefully. Rachel cuts in. "I don't just think. Everyone saw the pictures. Jetting around Europe while we're behind on bills? That's irresponsible." I don't flinch. I slide a stack of papers toward them. "These are the bills I paid over the last 10 years. Car repairs, mortgage payments, Logan's braces, even your utility shut-off notice that winter." I tap the top page, my voice steady. $47,000. Every cent from my savings, from the policy your father left. Daniel shifts, cheeks reddening. Rachel crosses her arms. "So what? Parents help? That's normal." I lean forward, the anger sharp but controlled. Helping is one thing. Being drained until I disappear is another. While you forgot my birthdays, I was writing checks. While you called me only to babysit, I was patching holes you left behind. And when I finally did something for myself, you dragged me through the mud in front of half the neighborhood. The silence cuts deep. Daniel rubs his forehead. "Mom, I didn't know it was that much." "That's the problem," I say. "You never asked. You assumed I'd always be there. Wallet open, schedule clear." Rachel scoffs. "You're being dramatic." I look her squarely in the eye. "No, Rachel, I'm being honest. This house is mine. If you want to live here, there will be a lease, with rent due on the first like everyone else. If you want childcare, we'll discuss pay and schedules. If not, you'll figure it out yourselves." Daniel finally meets my gaze, guilt written across his face. "I didn't realize how much we leaned on you. I let it happen." I soften, but only slightly. "I love you, Daniel. I love Logan. But love without boundaries becomes exploitation. I won't let that happen anymore." Rachel stands abruptly, muttering about grabbing her things. The front door slams, leaving the house vibrating in her absence. Daniel stays seated, head in hands. The papers lie between us, silent witnesses. I reach across, resting my palm on the stack. "This is the last time I'll measure my worth in receipts." He nods slowly, eyes glistening. "I need to think about everything." I clear the mugs, pour the untouched coffee down the sink, and feel something inside me shift. Not a break, but a release. The moment when truth finally fills the silence that used to suffocate me. The days after that confrontation stretch quiet, but it is a different kind of quiet. Not the silence of being overlooked, but the pause that follows a slammed door, the stillness where choices take root. I fill it with small decisions that belong only to me. I hire a handyman to repaint the kitchen walls a soft yellow. The color warms the mornings, reminding me of sunlight on the beaches of Barcelona. I box up clutter that never felt like mine and donate it to the church thrift store. Each bag dropped off feels like another stone lifted from my chest. At the community center downtown, I sign up for an evening painting class. The room smells of turpentine and clay, voices buzzing as retirees shuffle in with brushes tucked under their arms. My first canvas is clumsy, strokes too thick, but I grin like a girl when the instructor nods. "You've got an eye," he says, and I tuck the compliment close like a treasure. Neighbors notice the changes. Mrs. Jennings from across the street waves more often, even drops off zucchini bread. I invite her in for coffee, and we laugh about the peeling wallpaper we both lived with too long. The house, once a place I endured, begins to feel like a space I choose. At night, I cook simple meals, grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, a glass of red wine poured without guilt. I sit by the window, brush in hand, sketching ideas for my next painting. The air is lighter. I sleep deeper. I stop checking my phone every hour, stop waiting for Daniel to call. When Logan does visit, I set clear terms. 2 hours. Pick up at 7 sharp. He runs in with his backpack, hugs me hard, and asks if we can bake cookies. Flour dusts the counters, his laughter filling corners that once echoed. When Daniel arrives on time, he thanks me without the usual rush. It feels new, careful, sincere. I realize boundaries do not close doors. They open healthier ones. My life is no longer built on sacrifice alone. It is built on choice, color, flavor, and the stubborn joy of being seen, even if only by myself. It is a gray afternoon when Daniel knocks on my door alone. No Rachel, no hurried excuses, just him standing there with tired eyes and a duffel bag at his feet. I let him in without a word. He sits at the table, staring at the steam curling from the mug I set in front of him. "Mom," he begins, voice rough. "Things are falling apart. Rachel moved out last week. We've been fighting for months, and after what happened here, it all came to a head." He exhales, shoulders collapsing. "I should have stood up for you. Instead, I let her speak for both of us. I'm sorry." I study his face, the boy I raised still flickering beneath the lines of a man who has carried too much and too little at the same time. "Sorry matters," I tell him gently, "but change matters more." He nods, pulling an envelope from his bag. Inside is a printed lease I drafted weeks earlier. "If you'll let me, Logan and I would like to stay here for a while. I'll pay rent, on time, every month. No handouts, no assumptions. Just a tenant and a landlord and a son who still needs his mother." For a moment I imagine saying no, guarding my solitude like a new jewel, but I see the sincerity in his eyes, the humility I never thought I'd witness. "All right," I say, "but the rules stay. Rent is due on the 1st. Chores are shared. And if I say I'm not available, I mean it." He smiles, small but real. Deal. That evening, Logan bursts through the door, backpack bouncing. He hugs me so tightly I nearly lose my breath. "Grandma, guess what? Daddy and I are moving in upstairs." His joy is unfiltered, and I let it soak into the cracks Rachel's comment once left behind. Later, as Daniel carries boxes up the stairs, I sit in the yellow kitchen, sketchbook open. The house hums differently now, not with demand, but with possibility. My son is learning boundaries the hard way, and maybe that is the only way they stick, for the first time in years. I believe our family might rebuild on something sturdier than sacrifice, something closer to respect. 6 months later, the house carries new rhythms. Rent checks arrive on time, tucked neatly in envelopes Daniel leaves on the counter. Logan's laughter echoes up the staircase, but only during hours we've agreed upon. Boundaries have become part of our language, spoken without resentment. I've painted 3 canvases since that first clumsy attempt, one of the Eiffel Tower at dusk, one of the Roman piazza glowing gold, and one of the Barcelona shoreline where I found my courage. They hang in the hallway now, bold splashes of color on walls that used to feel bare. Visitors stop and stare, and I smile when they ask who painted them. "Me," I say. The word tastes new, certain. Daniel has changed, too. He apologizes less with words and more with actions, folding laundry without being asked, cooking dinner on nights he's home, showing up for Logan in ways he once left to others. We don't talk about Rachel much. Some wounds heal better without constant picking. On quiet evenings, I sit by the window with a glass of wine, watching porch lights flicker on up and down the street. I think back to that lonely birthday. the candle wobbling on a store-bought cake, and I hardly recognize the woman who sat in the shadows. I am still her. But I am also someone else now. Someone who knows the weight of her own worth. Someone who no longer waits for permission to live. Boundaries didn't end my family. They saved it. And when my next birthday comes, whether I celebrate in Paris or right here in my yellow kitchen, I know this much: the flame will burn steady because I lit it for myself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy these family drama and revenge stories, please subscribe and join me for more every day.